Okay, now we're live. Perfect.
Yeah, we are live. So, Gavin Marshalek, this is how it works with the promotion, www.myfootballcamps.com/D1 promo. 2026 kid, looking for attention, got invited to Liberty for a visit, had some schools following him, gets an offer from UNLV, and now everything is blowing up. Now everybody's, I mean, and by everybody, I mean, it's not Alabama or Ohio State or anything, but all these other programs are jumping in. They want him to, come to camp, throw for them. They're going to swing by the school. That's what it takes. And it took us, maybe 8-10 months to get that first offer for him. And then now it's just going to blow up. So Carson Rauner, the 2024 quarterback from Nebraska that we're just doing again, it's going to happen to him too. He's on the cusp. There's this little fine line where you just get over that hump and then everything starts to happen. And that's what's going to happen with Rauner. So, it's not just quarterbacks though. We've seen it a lot with defensive backs and defensive linemen and, wide receivers, all that stuff too. So, but it's just funny because we've known for years that there's just this little line that you got to get past, and then everything else takes care of itself. And we've seen it with Carson Kruger and a bunch of other guys previously, and now we're seeing it with these guys. So, I'm talking to a lot of people. They're wondering if it's worth it. It's worth it.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. The things that you're getting from it are second to none. And we just signed Griffin Egan with us, 6'5", 250-pound O line D lineman from New Jersey, and he started to get some visits. But the second it came out with video, he had two new visits to schools, and as he gets on campus, he's gigantic. When they meet him in person, he's a big dude. So and put together, probably at 6'5", 250, probably could be. My guess is he probably could be 50 pounds heavier if he goes the route of offensive lineman and not at all look fat. He literally was like an abbed up offensive lineman at 6'5", 250. Obviously, because he also plays D line, but depending on where they like him. To me, I think he's O lineman. Because he could easily put on 60 pounds and still look phenomenal at 6'5". So, but as a tackle, but it's it'll be up to them. But I thought it was those are the kind of guys that really fit our program well over the course of 6 months to a year. That they come out the other end, they're in a great position, and that's what I think the promo has continued to do for these guys one by one. And we have another new one that should be been pretty shortly as well. I think we'll be in that same kind of situation. We're filling in that sweet spot of guys that have the ability, um, but either just kind of haven't gotten out there, or there's a variety of reasons. I mean, there's a million reasons, but have the ability, number one, and we're able to put light on that and put them in a better situation.
Yeah, and offensive lineman Ben Hartman sent me an update. They did the freestyle state championships wrestling,
Yes.
and they won the gold. His team won the gold. And just looking at him and how physically he's maturing. He's putting in all the weight room work. He's putting in all the work to, get bigger, stronger, faster, more agile. He's walking on at Oregon State. They could be getting a guy who's just starting the rise, to peak. And that's what you want. I talked about people about the portal, and we have the portal one as well, myfootballcamps.com/transfer. What you want in the portal, you don't want guys that are, former, 4-star kids that just didn't make it and they're kind of on the downside. You want guys that didn't make it or weren't known on the upside. And it's the same thing with this too. So, you could catch lightning in a bottle with one of these kids. Eventually this is only first year we've done it. We haven't seen anybody play a down of college football from the program yet, but there are guys like that. But talking more and more about, what coaches want, they want that kid that no one else really took a chance on who has that, chip on his shoulder, is going to come in there, work extra hard, and try to make something of himself. Where the 4 or 5 star kids are great, obviously super talents. The draft is next week, or actually this upcoming week. A lot of those guys in the first round are going to be 4 stars, former 5 stars. But then there's the guys that, the 2s and 3s that were overlooked, that had to work extra hard to get where they are. And, in this day of college football with NIL, the portal, it's more important than ever to get those kids that have character, loyalty, work ethic, who aren't there to say, what can you make me, money wise? If you don't play me, I'm going to transfer. You want the kids that say, I don't give a crap about NIL. I don't give a crap about the portal. I'm here to, get better and be good. And so coaches are looking for that more than ever. And I think that's where they can find them here.
There's no doubt about it. I'm looking at Ben Hart. So he won the state championship in at heavyweight in his first. It was his first year wrestling.
I don't
That's
know.
what he wrote here. First and last year of wrestling, and his team won the states, and he won the individual. Yes,
I didn't know it was his first year wrestling. I thought he'd known how to wrestle before, but if that's his first year, that's even more impressive. And as an offensive lineman or defensive lineman, I mean, that's what you want.
Amazing.
I mean, the 2 dudes that came out of Iowa over the last couple of years, the 2 offensive tackles, the center, and then the year before the tackle, both wrestlers, wrestled, at high level, grapplers. You get agility from that, you get leverage from that, you get strength in your legs from that, you get all that stuff too. So I always like offensive linemen or defensive linemen that wrestle, because they know how to play with leverage automatically.
I mean, I haven't been in this on his site, and obviously once he in a while, but man, I'm watching him wrestle. This kid, when he gets there, this could be a GM. I mean, it's incredible how well he moves on his feet for a big guy.
Well, and he's much, much better now than when he came to us.
Yep.
And that's on him. When I first saw his film from Texas, because remember, he moved to Oregon for his senior year, he was okay, but raw. And that's what the analysis was. I put it on there. I said, this kid could play. The first selling point was that he could play multiple positions. He could play tackle. He's got experience playing tackle, guard, center.
Right.
That was the selling point. You want a versatile lineman, and he could play defense. And when you sell versatility, it's a double-edged sword. Versatility is great, but maybe that means you're not great at one particular position, and you haven't found your spot yet. Now, looking at him, he's a completely different human being. And I'm not saying he's the next first rounder in the NFL. I'm not saying he's going to earn a scholarship immediately, but he's done the work on his part. So we got his name out there, got his film out there. They saw the difference between his film from his junior year to senior year. We got him relocated essentially, because once you go from Texas to Oregon, people lose track of you. They stop recruiting you. They stop making an effort. So we made it known that he's no longer in Texas for family reasons. He moved to Oregon. Don't lose track of him. Now, Oregon State, he kind of fell into their lap because he moved up there. And they could be getting something. And he's the perfect type of guy for them, because if Ben Harmon is a preferred walk-on to the Texas Longhorns, he would never probably play or have a chance to play. There would have to be 10 injuries ahead of him. But Oregon State's that scrappy, angry playing football team. All those kids are 3 stars or 2 stars. They just whooped Florida this past year. They won 10 games this past year. Jonathan Smith's a great coach. It's kind of the perfect fit for him. Now, I don't know if he's going to be successful or not. I'm just saying that the kid that came to us is different than the kid we're seeing now.
Right. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's amazing. That was very, just looking at that right now was so intriguing. And that's what the portal really will I'm sorry. The promo, the promo will do. It gives you that opportunity. I think that's also what you said is so poignant that a lot of people don't realize. I think they will learn with the whole transfer thing is that you're going to need guys on your roster that are willing to stay and be a bona fide part of your team, that are going to build the culture for your program. Because otherwise, if you're just turning over like basketball I mean, basketball, you could do it, you could have somebody come in. It's only 5 guys. You could turn it over your roster. But look, let's even take the greatest example of this in the one and done era back in the day with Calipari, where he decided he was going to turn over the roster basically every year. That was going to be his thing, and it worked for a while. But now it doesn't work. It didn't work because the culture changes. So you do need some linchpins of your program, and I would dare to say 3/4 of your players have to be that way, and you can maybe turn over a quarter of those guys, but you need 3/4 of those guys to be guys that are in the program, that are all about the program, and that when you bring in some of those transfer guys, those 10 or so guys, that they can't affect the culture in a negative standpoint if it doesn't work out for them. Obviously, if a guy transfers in, it works out for them. I'm sure they're perfectly fine. But there's also going to be instances where it doesn't work out for them.
Well, and there's also guys. Two of the best players that jumped at the portal this spring evaluation, April 15th to the 30th, are from Appalachian State and Wyoming. So these were guys that were under-recruited, overlooked, went off to a smaller school, had great success, and now they're moving upwards. And Oregon State's not a smaller school. I mean, they're a 10-win program and, obviously on the upswing. But, that's with the promo, you may land someplace, FCS or, group of 5 or whatever. And then you have options, and that's what you want. And that's the other thing with options is like the goal. I tell people, we've got some quarterbacks. I mentioned Ronner. We got Tanner Huckfelt, 2025 from Houston. And he DMs me and asks me, the opinion. That's part of the promo. It's a year-long membership, and you get to ask any questions you want. What do you think of this? Should I do this? What do you think of this? I got invited to this camp. What should I do? It's options. That's what you care about. We had, a couple of our guys had a choice between walk-on, a Power 5 or Group of 5, Hartman being one of them, or, FCS scholarships. And that's your choice, whatever you want to do. You want to pay for school to go to Power 5 or Group of 5 yourself? Great. If you want to take the scholarship and try to work your way through the portal, great as well. But, before you come to us, you have no options whatsoever. And our job is to give you options, even if it's 2. I mean, we had one kid go to AIC, which is up in Springfield, and that was all he wanted, was to have that particular option. Some kids get 2 options, and that's great. The kid's going to Dayton. Didn't have a billion options, but he got one really good one versus another really good one. And then some of you will have 15 options, and that's just the way it is. But if you have none or very few right now, I'm talking to some kids about the promo. They're getting mail. They're getting attention. They're getting coaches following them. And I asked them, I said, well, who's offered? Nobody yet. And I said, okay, that's fine. You could use us. Maybe you couldn't use us. I don't know. But after the spring evaluation is over and it started April 15th, it goes to the end of June. At the end of May. If you don't have an offer, then it's time for sure. Now, right now is a good time to sign up because coaches are out on the road. And if they don't know about you, Buddy Guerrero, sorry. And I think it's Guerrero. I asked Coach Manis about this. He's the super fast corner wide receiver that we just started promoting. People are on the road in Georgia. They may not know about him. They may see it and they may, want to take a stop at his school. But without seeing it, they wouldn't know to be able to do that. And maybe they can't get to his school. He's a 2026, I believe, but next time maybe they will. Or maybe they'll invite him to summer camp or something. And that's all being formulated now. I know coaches. I used to help coaches a long time ago kind of work their schedules. I had guys, a good friend of mine a long time ago at Miami, when Miami was Miami, when they were winning national championships, and they were early 2000s, late 1990 Miami. He would call me up and he'd say, okay, I'm coming to New Jersey. What school should I hit? Day one when I'm in North Jersey, anything on the shore. I'm going to be in South Jersey the next day. and we would go through the kids, and I wasn't helping them recruit kids, but I was helping them, like, I think it's a good idea, and this was really early in my career, to go to, these particular schools. We got this 4-star kid who's at Irvington, that's probably worth a stop for you. That's what they're doing now, that they've got their schedule. If they're flying to your state, they know where they want to go, but if they learn about you late, they can add a stop. I mean, it's not like they're in college. They're in high schools 12 hours a day, but they can add a stop, an extra half hour.
Yeah, and Buddy Rose 2025. By the way, Buddy Rose is a great example. I mean, I watched his film and I was just curious if he was a track guy because of the way he ran and how smooth he was. And I looked up as a so 2025 means that he's a sophomore, going to be a junior.
Right.
He's already long jumped 21:11 as a sophomore, which is, I mean, just as a long jumper, basically, if you're mid 22s, you're a Division I long jumper. I mean, he's almost a Division I long jumper, and he's only a sophomore. So he has freakish athleticism, and you can see that when he catches the ball and how he runs, and just phenomenal. I mean, and he's only going to get better. He's only going to get bigger. He's slim, obviously, still, but he's going to get bigger, more built, I should say, because I don't think you ever need to add unnecessary weight as a receiver, because all it does is slow you down, because right. I think as long as you're working out, if you're not working out, obviously you got to work out. But if you're working out, eating, I was always of this, I'm curious as an analyst, I was always of the, as a guy who played linebacker, they were always telling you back in the day, oh, you got to keep eating, get bigger and bigger and bigger. My whole thing is, man, just get stronger, eat the way that you should eat to be able to support you getting stronger. Unless you're a lineman where you have to gain weight, all you're going to do is just lose speed, right? And the game is speed. So eventually, if you eat too much, you're going to be slower and you won't be as good. I think if you play a skill position,
you shouldn't do it on your own in high school. I mean, you wait to get to college, you get on a training table,
yep.
You get in a weight program, it's shedding weight is not, if you get to college too big, they're going to cut your weight and then build you back up. If you get to college too light, they're going to build you back up. And it's a lot easier just to build you back up. So,
yep.
With kids like that, I mean, he's 165 pounds or whatever, 5'11", though. He's long. He's got long arms. I don't worry about that at all. There's a couple kids in the 2024 class, Midwest kids, 6'1", corner, 158 pounds. I don't care. I don't care. You're 6'1". You're going to be able to carry, 195 pounds. It's going to take you a little while to, build that up. But I don't care about the weight. I care about the speed. And he, Buddy Rose is very, very fast. And, that's the other thing too. If you're fast and you're a track guy, you're going to play special teams, most likely. So, the first video I did of him was offensive. The next one I'm going to do has more, some defense in it, because he could play either. But I've made sure there was special teams in there too, because that's going to make everybody, versatility. As I mentioned, Hartman being able to play all 5 line positions is still important. Now that he's better, stronger, faster, more athletic, it's important that he has that versatility. But now he's a better football player with that versatility. And Buddy Rowe has the versatility of offense, defense, special teams. He's just got to keep getting faster, getting better, and all that stuff. The rest will take care of it as far as size. So,
there's no doubt.
But that's another thing. I mean, it could be a simple question that anybody asks. Listen, I'm on the, I'm in the promo program. I'm getting interest. I got some coaches telling me I'm too thin. I got other coaches telling me that they'll build me up when we get there. Which do you think? And my answer to them would be absolutely. Don't worry about weight right now. Worry about speed and getting better.
Great advice. I think that's gold. That's one of the things that it's funny, because they're high. When you're playing in high school, your high school coach, and I understand their side of it, is thinking about the immediate needs of the program, but in the long run, if you're a receiver, like you still want the most speed you can. Like that's all that really, to me, that's the biggest thing that matters for the main skill positions is, I mean, any skill position now, even linebacker, I mean, D end, Like I'll take if a 6'5", 215-pound D end is it can fly off the ball, you're going to take him because he's going to be 250 as he keeps growing, right, in size and lifting in college. So, but that's
Yeah.
great advice. Great
When you
advice.
look at the mock draft, there's a lot of different mock drafts, but you look at, some of these kids, they weren't that big. Tyree Wilson's 6'6", 271 now. He wasn't anything close to that size coming out of high school. You're going to get bigger. Will Anderson was that typical, guy you're talking about, 6'4", maybe 225. He's 253 now. You're just naturally going to put on weight. As long as you're, I don't know, just improving as a football player. I mean, Bijan Robinson was 185 pounds out of high school. He's 215 now. On and on it goes. I just think it's a lot easier to build up than it is to break down. And I know kids who have gone to school. And the other thing is, the school recruited them as a 330-pound lineman. Then the coaches got fired. And the new coach wants his guys to be zone blockers at 300, 305 tops. So then that kid has to, trim down 30 pounds because what? I mean, I don't know. It's just, to me, be in football shape, be as athletic as you could possibly be. If you get to campus and they say, we want you 315, they get up to 315. If they say you want you down to, 285, get to 285. Don't think about the weight and all that stuff. Especially some kids, I mean, they just can't afford to eat right, period. Especially now. I mean, you think that's an old thing. It used to be like, oh yeah, this kid's from South Jersey, man. He's at Camden, family struggling financially, blah, blah, blah. Wait till he gets to a real training table with real food. Well, it's 2023. The economy's worse than ever. And some kids just can't afford a proper training table. So they're getting by on snacks and garbage. And when they get to college, they're going to fix all that as far as nutrition is concerned. So we're going to talk about Alabama real quick.
Yep.
So there's panic. I saw somebody saying Alabama's going to be 7-5 if the quarterbacks play this way. So you got Tommy Rees as the new offensive coordinator. Jalen Milroe, the 4-star kid from Texas who was committed to Texas, decommitted, went to Alabama. He's the incumbent starter, so to speak. Bryce Young's gone. And then Ty Simpson, who I had as a 4-star coming out of high school, very good player. He hasn't played, but he's competing with him for the job. Milroe threw 2 picks. Simpson won. Simpson completed like maybe 35% of his passes. Milroe like 48%. Panic ensues at Alabama, and I'm not panicked. But even Saban was saying, listen, we try not to go to the portal. And he didn't say this exactly, but we try not to go to the portal. But it's been successful for us. Jahmyr Gibbs, Henry Toto, Jameson Williams, stuff like that. If there's a quarterback, we'll go get him. But I think that's more of a message to his quarterbacks to get your head out of your butt and get better than it is for him to, go into the portal or bring somebody in now.
What do you think is the issue with them? I mean, they were basically both. Simpson was under 50%. Milroe was around 50%.
Right.
Which is not very good, especially now with everybody running short routes half the 3/4 of the time. So to be
65% is like the new 50%.
Right, because there's no play action bombs, unless you in the old days, that's how they did it all the time. Now you run so many crossing routes and shallows and short routes and comebacks that there's no reason to not be 65. Yeah, exactly.
I think he's just not he's Jalen Hurts is who he is. So Jalen Hurts came from the state of Texas to Alabama. He was raw and athletic, thick kid who could run, but wasn't overly accurate. Lost his job to Tua because of that lack of accuracy. Went to Oklahoma, became an accurate quarterback for the most part for one season, and now he's the highest paid player in the NFL. It takes time sometimes for your mechanics and your vision and all that stuff to catch up. Milroe doesn't have a lot of experience. He looked good in the spring game last year. He played a little bit when Bryce Young was hurt this past season, but he doesn't have a lot of reps. And Simpson hasn't played at all. So I think it's just one of those situations where maybe the defense is ahead of these guys, And they're going to need time to come around. And I'm not panicked by it. It's really you're spoiled. You go from Jalen Hurts to Tua to Bryce Young, you're going to have a drop off eventually. I don't know why I'm echoing. Something changed?
What's that?
I'm echoing.
You are?
Let me see if it's still. Yeah, it might be something on your end. Did you change something? Now I'm not echoing.
No, you're not.
So whatever you did was perfect.
I think I just, I don't know, I clicked a few buttons.
Yeah, I'll do it. Fixed it.
Sometimes I fix it. Yeah, I look, we had Mac Jones, you had Bryce Young, Jalen Hurts,
Forgot about Mac Jones.
Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, that's a pretty good run, and to nail all of them being good.
Well, you got offensive coordinator change too.
I think that's a big deal. That's a bigger deal than people, especially in spring ball. It's a big deal because you're learning the new system, whatever that is. I mean, Alabama's been lucky in that they've had so much success with turning over to coordinators and still kind of succeeding. But I'm sure there's a slight change to the system. I also think Tommy Rees is not like some of the other, even though he's what he did at Notre Dame, they had some nice success. I don't think he's like the other guys from a coordinator standpoint that have been there in recent times. This is a newer, potentially longer term thought process maybe with him. I don't know. I don't know what Tommy Rees' aspirations are.
Well, it's more of a pro style approach.
Okay.
That what he ran at Notre Dame. It's there's play action. There's run oriented. So when you go from Bill O'Brien, who had it pretty wide open, because Saban embraced the wide open offense with Kiffin and Sark. They knew they had to throw the ball more than they did with the Derrick Henry year where they just ran over everybody. But now you're going backwards a little bit from Bill O'Brien to Tommy Rees as far as the nature of the routes, nature of the progressions, nature of the passing game and all that stuff. I don't think that's the ultimate excuse because everybody goes through coordinator changes. I mean, I could name 20 Power 5 schools that have new coordinators, including Notre Dame right now. And Sam Hartman looked great, 13 of 16 in his spring game. And I think it's more about processing. Maybe Saban said the D-backs are down, but I think that's a ploy. Maybe the Alabama defense is that good,
right?
Where they just, these guys struggled as well. It's not like they're the spring game of, Rutgers where they're going against the defense that's not world class. It's, maybe they're that good on defense. I don't know.
Rutgers has. I've been to their practices and their defense. I'm concerned for them. Let's put it like that.
No, there should always be concern for Rutgers. I mean, there was only one year where there wasn't really any concern, and even then, I don't know. What are you going to do if you're Rutgers?
Ray Rice don't come around. They basically had hit the jackpot with Ray Rice and Leonard at the same time, and really was, Ray Rice was going to Syracuse, I think, and something happened there, and where he decided to go to Rutgers instead for whatever reason. And then Leonard, when he made that move, it turned out to be a magical move where they used him as a fullback. And so now they're using the both of them, and they were both stars. That turned out that Teal was the right pro-style quarterback for that team. A lot of obviously they had Anthony Davis probably on that line, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So he did do some really good things recruiting-wise where he picked some guys that may not have been as higher rated, other than Anthony Davis was a big time rated guy.
He was, and Ray Rice was a 3-star kid out of New York who had, local offers, and they won that recruiting battle. And Leonard was a local kid as well who didn't have a ton of offers, had some. But you got to get lucky if you're Rutgers. Alabama, everybody's a 5 or 4-star,
right?
Everybody.
That's
So,
right.
they're talking about the picks. They threw 3 picks. Well, every interception that occurred in that spring game was by a 5 or a 4-star defensive back. And it's funny because the D-backs have been a little bit down over the last couple of years at Alabama. That's cyclical as well. So the quarterbacks have been up, the D-backs have been down. Now maybe the D-backs are up, quarterbacks are down a little bit. Spring football, look at Colorado. I mean, they look like world beaters on offense. I don't care. It's spring football. It means nothing. It's a showcase. Ohio State showcased their defense because that's the people's concern, is that the defense isn't as good as it used to be under Urban Meyer, and that's why they're losing. So lo and behold, the defense looks great in the spring. Now people are saying, well, is the offense going to be as good? You don't worry about that. You put out kind of what people want to see. It wouldn't stun me at all. I mean, I know it's not fabricated. I know this isn't the way it is, but those other scrimmages are closed. Practices are closed. I don't think Saban came out and said, hey, listen, Jalen, I want you to throw 2 picks. We're going to let you throw 2 touchdowns as well and run for a score. I mean, he did have 3 touchdowns. Ty, I want you to throw a pick. It's not like that, but if you have an off day or whatever, or if you set it up, I mean, we don't know. This is spring football. The defense could know every freaking play they're running.
Right.
Everyone. They're playing against each other. So it might be a situation where the defense has all the plays, knows the routes, knows exactly what's going to happen, knows that this guy is under, orders to not go through more than 2 progressions or to lock in on his first and throw. There's so many variables. So when people freak out about a spring game, I never worry about it, especially with it's Alabama. I did see some people saying 7-5 if they play. They're never going to go 7-5. Not under Saban. Not ever, never, ever. So the concern is, do they go 10-2 and miss the playoff again? And that's Alabama's biggest problem. So, but I think Milroe will be fine. I think he's Jalen Hurts. Maybe Ty Simpson is Tua. Maybe they get to a certain level with Jalen Monroe, and then Simpson takes over like Tua did. Alabama is going to be just fine. But I like to see the panic a little bit, because those fans, you talk about Rutgers, those fans live in hell. Alabama fans don't understand what it is to have real problems.
Right.
And so maybe this spring is going to give them, a thought of that they have real problems. But try being a Rutgers fan for a day.
That's got to be tough.
I know some. It's not fun.
Only could be trumped by being a UConn fan in football. That's why we have basketball season. Although Mora's doing a great job, so I got to give him credit.
I mean, he did a great job building. Randy Edsall let that thing fall apart. And took his money and he got his son paid and ran. And Mora did a great job turning it around. And even UConn had that one year they go to the Fiesta Bowl and everything sort of fell into place there. And then Edsall leaves. This Shano had this thing rolling, and then he left, and that's not his fault. I would take the Tampa Bay job if you're paying me that much money. And then similar to Edsall,
same thing.
They couldn't find a solution, so they invite him back. The sequel's never as good as the original.
I agree,
and that's where Rutgers is, but it's better than it was under Ash or under Flood.
Definitely,
but. In the whole scope of things, I do some writing for a website that covers Illinois football. And I always, it's weird because I've always covered the 5-star kids going to Ohio State and Alabama and Clemson and, LSU and on, and Georgia. Now I'm covering recruiting for Illinois and stuff. Those fans have to understand what they are. If they go 8-4, they should celebrate like they won a national championship. And just, last season they won 8 games under Brett Bielema. They weren't supposed to. It was a great season. Now they were a little disappointed because I think they lost 3 of their last 4, or down the stretch they lost 2 important games, and they could have won the West and they didn't. And so there's this little disappointment there. But you're an 8-4 team. Rutgers, you're a 7-5 team at best. That's what you got to like and live for. And if you get impatient with that, like BC did with Tom O'Brien, they got tired of going 9-3, 8-4 every year, and they got rid of him, and they brought in Jagosinski, and they went, lo and behold, they won 10-10, 10-11. games, back-to-back seasons, went to the ACC title game. But it turned out he was like he was winning with O'Brien's players. And then since then, they just haven't been good. So, Schiano's great for Rutgers. If you go 7-5, enjoy it. But you're not going to beat Michigan. You're not going to beat Ohio State. You're just not. Sorry. It's life.
Yeah, I mean that's just how it is. There's no other way to put it any other way differently. I think Alabama. Did Auburn have their spring?
Yeah, everybody's done. I think this was the last weekend of spring games.
Well, I thought
Auburn had. There's a weekend to go. It was in the pouring rain. They announced like an attendance of like 17,000, and there were literally like 3 people there.
Okay.
But that's not a reflection on the program, the fans, or Hugh Freeze. It was just unbelievable, like Noah's Ark rain. But they're rebuilding entirely. They don't have a set quarterback. They don't have this quarterback issue where they're choosing between 2 4-stars. They don't have depth at a lot of positions. They went from Gus, who left the offensive line unrecruited, to Harsin, who had a year and a half really, who never got it done. So now Freeze is kind of starting from the bottom. So they're a couple years away from even being thought of as an Iron Bowl winner. And they almost beat, that's the funny thing, they almost beat Alabama in the Iron Bowl. But they're not going to be a contender in the SEC for a couple years.
Yeah, I agree with you. Who else looked good in spring ball that you thought was, or maybe a surprise?
Well, it's hard to tell. I mean, USC, Caleb Williams, I think played 1 series. So how good do we know USC is going to be? He's really good, obviously, if he stays healthy. They won 11 games last year. The Utah loss, it kind of knocked them out of, and he said they did 2 Utah losses. Florida State, it's hard to tell how good they're going to be. But these are teams that I see outside the top 10 last year.
Well, the Texas thing I thought was interesting.
Yeah. Obviously, Manning played, but he's not ready. Ewers is the guy. They look good. They got a good trio of wide receivers. Solid running game even with Bijan gone. They were 25th in the AP poll at the end of the season, so they have a chance to move way up. LSU has a chance to move way up. I think USC, Florida State are teams that I would be excited about. South Carolina hoping to take that next step after finishing beating Tennessee and Clemson. It's the interesting thing to me is like, how good is Penn State going to be? They went 11-2 last year. With Sean Clifford, they got Drew Allar now. Great 1-2 punch, a running back, okay wide receiver, solid offensive line, good defense. But the problem is they play Michigan and Ohio State. So are they going to go 10-2 again in the regular season, be locked out of any sort of playoff hope? Tennessee, they went 11-2 last year. Hooker's gone, Hyatt's gone, Tillman's gone on the offense. Are they going to be able to replace those guys effectively? So I'm looking at those teams like, can they replicate what they did, and what teams outside of the top 10, can move up? And to me, the dangerous ones, Florida State could win the ACC, USC could win the Pac-12, could be playoff contenders.
Yeah, interesting. Well, what's interesting is that the next best thing is what, the draft? I mean, is that what we're looking to?
Yeah, it starts, I think, Thursday, or maybe Friday. I can't remember. The draft. With all the quarterbacks, now there's 5 mocked in the first round now with Hooker late in the first round. Where are the quarterbacks going to fall? That's it. And then after that, then it's just awful. I mean, there's nothing for football after the draft until August.
Brutal. Brutal. And I think I'm echoing now.
I didn't do anything, but we should probably wrap it up because we got a late start.
Let's wrap it up.
myfootballcamps.com/D1 promo for high school football players. I don't care if you're 2027, 2028, or you're 2024. If you need social media promotion, you need promotion to coaches, you're going to get it. You will get attention, just proven. There hasn't been one issue on anybody who's gone more than, now that we don't do the one-timers. The one-timers are a one-off. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But if you do the 6-month or 12-month program, which is all we offer now, you're going to get attention, period. The portal, onemyfootballcamps.com/transfer. The portal is open for 6 more days. When it closes, there's going to be even more kids without homes. So if you're looking for social media promotion on that, hit us up.
Absolutely. There's nothing more to say other than that. It will make a gigantic difference for you. Until next time, we will see you soon.